Obstructive sleep apnea causes breathing to repeatedly stop and start during sleep. Sounds scary? Now, this lessens your sleep time, and lack of sleep in turn affects the body in many ways. So pulmonologist Dr. Terry Baker is here, and she's going to help us become more aware of the dangers of obstructive sleep apnea. Good morning.
Morning, Doc.
Morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. Is there another type of sleep apnea?
Yes, you do have what we call central sleep apnea, which oftentimes is due to diseases that may affect the brain or may be related to heart disease.
Okay.
When we speak of obstructive sleep apnea, we're speaking of the airway that collapses or relaxes far too much during sleep, because in everybody it will relax, but in someone who has obstructive sleep apnea, it significantly relaxes and obstructs airflow during sleep. So central is brain and heart. Obstructive sleep apnea is actually to deal with the airway closing off, obstructing during sleep. And because of that, the brain eventually does not get sufficient oxygen. Wow. Oxygen levels fall. The person often wakes up gasping or choking, or sometimes they don't awaken, but their bed partner may most times complain of the snore, because they tend to snore quite a bit, and snoring is due to the turbulent airflow. But sometimes the bed partner may also say, listen, during sleep, I can't sleep because when he or she is sleeping, I'm watching them, because they look like they stop breathing and then they start again. So that is a concern with sleep apnea, and the brain is very sensitive to when oxygen levels fall. So it will awaken the person completely to say, hey, I need oxygen, you need to take a breath.
Yeah.
Or even if the person doesn't fully awaken, it takes them to the lighter stages of sleep.
Does it have anything to do with the way we sleep, like whether on the back or we side or on the...
So it has a number of factors, and yes, persons who have obstructive sleep apnea, it tends to be worse if they're sleeping on their back. So we advise sleep on your side, sleep on your tummy, abdomen.
You advise that whether we have the sleep apnea or not?
Not commonly. Sleeping on the back does have its issues in terms of you're more likely to have the tongue fall back in the throat. Persons who may have significant what we call rhinitis or sinus diseases may notice that they have more drainage sleeping on the back. So while in some persons, if they have no other condition issues, sleeping on the back may be okay for them. But if they snore, if they have certain other diseases, then we certainly suggest sleep on your sides. And some persons will say, but I can't sleep. That is how I sleep, on my back. I've been doing it for years. So it is also the behavioral aspect of it. And we have certain techniques that we use to sort of retrain the mind so that the person is able to sleep on their sides.
Sides or tummy, or just sides?
Sides or tummy.
Yeah. We have some headlines here about what happens when you don't sleep as well as you should. One is weight gain.
Yes. So when sleep is extremely important, and persons sometimes negate the importance of sleep. Sleep is a time when the body restores, repairs itself, and rejuvenates to give us the energy to go on for the next cycle in terms of usually daytime cycles. And when we don't sleep, the body undergoes a number of changes, both from a hormonal level and from all sorts of what we call excitatory stimulants being sent off. So there is an increased risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, obesity, excessive weight gain, and kidney problems. So while persons may scoff at not sleeping, the health aspects of not being able to get proper sleep, because a person who has sleep apnea, for example, may say, but I sleep. But we have stages of sleep. They often spend most of the time in the lighter stage, which is not the rejuvenating stages of sleep.
So that's not proper sleep.
So that's not proper sleep.
Does it matter when you sleep? Because I hear night sleep different from day sleep. And does it matter, like you have people who work all night and them sleep all day? Does it matter when you sleep?
So we look at various rhythms that the body has, and we talk about what we call a circadian rhythm. And for the most persons, our sleep should coincide with what is called a circadian rhythm, meaning that usually for most people, their wakefulness is during daylight, bright light. That's when you have a lot of stimulations taking place. During night is when it becomes more quiet, and that is the time when the body will tend to sleep. So sleep should match this sort of bright daylight
It's almost
activity.
a cycle almost.
It's a cycle. However, you brought up a very valid point. The person who is a shift worker, the person who may work as a caregiver, students may be up at nights, and they run the risk of developing insomnia, difficulty sleeping, even when they are no longer on the shift. So it's a whole broad area that we need to look at, and it is becoming more, people are becoming more cognizant that sleep is related, yes, to periods of wakefulness. Someone who doesn't sleep well, they get around a steering wheel, or they're walking on the road, they're more likely to have an accident. They tend not to be alert. The children may sometimes not perform as well in school. So it's not just the health aspects, but we see more immediate aspects. And in the medium to long term, we see the other health aspects associated with it.
Yeah. There are other things it says: aging skin, acid reflux.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need the sleep to rejuvenate both inside out. We speak of exercise and hydration, which is also important because oftentimes to have effective sleep, we promote activity, physical activity, not too close to bedtime, usually in the day, which is part of our circadian rhythm. So early in the day, you tend to sleep better at night. But also, for someone who doesn't sleep well, they're restless. Their body is always working. So that, yes, we do see persons who tend to look older than their age actually is, and associated with that is not just an advanced aging outwardly, but the systems as well, as I mentioned before, tend to be under stress.
So you can't make up for that. So I get 3 hours last night. Well, I'll just sleep 9 hours tonight. You don't make up for that. Lost sleep is lost sleep.
So lost sleep generally is felt to be lost sleep. We speak about a sleep debt, that you have robbed yourself of sleep. And some persons will eventually, after a time not sleeping for many hours, have a day when they just, what we say, crash, right? They sleep. But it's truly felt that sleep that is lost.
Is lost.
Is lost. It is lost. Now, intermittently, somebody may have a party, may go out. We're not speaking of the occasional.
Right.
We're speaking about a sort of more chronic.
Like a regular. This 8 hours thing is for real? If you don't get 8 hours every night, we in trouble? Or?
So sleep requirements may differ among persons. And also, generally speaking, we say sleep 7 to 8 hours for persons 18 years and above. So it is also dependent on age. Younger kids by far require more sleep.
Require more?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm talking about the babies, the neonates.
No, I know.
They can sleep for quite, and even children, because they're growing. So they need that time. But as we get older, for one, 18 and above, 7 to 8 hours sleep. But the character of the sleep also changes. And an older person may not require as much deep sleep, because we talk about stages, as someone who is much more active and out there.
Well, I am an older person. I'm also active. And I really and truly don't sleep more than about 4 or 5 hours every night. But I seem to be fine with it.
So, and many persons say so as well. Many persons also take what we call power naps. So for some persons, just to put their head down, just to close their eyes for 10, 15, 20 minutes, really sort of restores them, rejuvenates, and they can become more alert and they get going. But we don't recommend longer than, say, 30 minutes.
Final question. It can be cured, fixed, controlled, sleep apnea.
So sleep apnea, for most part, we can control it, and we have different modalities. Some persons may require surgery, some persons may require mouth devices, and then there's the mask, which delivers a continuous flow of air at a particular pressure to splint the airway open when the person sleeps.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, pulmonologist. I said it right? Dr. Terry Baker, I think so. 10 minutes to your health. We'll do it again next Thursday. Pulmonologist. I did say it right.